Welcome to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Knows podcasting network. You're in the ring with Jimmy, Chris, and Rod. Rod, what are you hot about today?
To tell you the truth, Jimmy, I'm not hot about anything. I'm going to do yet another switch up, a curveball on you here at my beginning soliloquy, as it were. All right. I'm going to go Charles Dickens on you here, my friend. Today, this date in June that we are recording on, June the 6th, 2023, 41 years ago today, one Vince McMahon brought the World Wrestling Federation from his father and business partners for $1 million to assume 100% control of the company. So I say to you, Jimmy, that was the best of times, but it may have also been the worst of times because wrestling would not be what it is today without Vince McMahon. But yet here we are still with Vince McMahon having his tentacles all over the most recent episode of Raw we will probably talk about, because who could have seen that coming at an episode in Connecticut, right, Jim?
He didn't have to travel very far. No private jet. So that worked. Yes, it was the best of times and the worst of times. It was the worst of times for a ton of regional companies because they were bought out, destroyed, pushed out, bullied out, whatever you want to call it. And the WWE took over in kind of a monopolistic fashion, but in such a monopolistic fashion that it wasn't a monopoly because you still had the independent things going around everywhere. So that was a sly move and a slick move by him. The Vince McMahon from then to the Vince McMahon now, one thing has changed, and it's just that there's no plan. Everything changes on a dime. And really, Chris, I wish it was over, but the WWE just sold for billions of dollars. So I guess they're doing something right?
I mean, you want to talk about a return of investment? That's a big return on investment right there. And yeah, we don't enjoy it now, but we wouldn't have the wrestling that we enjoy now if it wasn't for Vince McMahon.
And that is
and it's
true.
Funny how you mentioned the Saudis, Jim, because, I mean, everyone knows that we have multiple podcasts here on the Morgan Podcasting Network, but our Balls and Brew podcast touches on a little bit of Saudi Arabian money as well.
Yes, we had a huge development this week with Live Golf and the PGA Tour merging or hostile takeover. I'm not sure what we're going to get into there. A lot of things have changed over the past 41 years, but one thing that hasn't, it's old man takes. And we have an old man on our podcast right now who is, by the way, a little older than Vince McMahon. Chris King, do you have an old man take for us?
I do have one, and I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, but you saw a lot of great wrestling matches start with actual like I would almost call it feats of strength, where the guys would go out there and they lock hands and they decide like who's the stronger one. I really miss that. I want to go out there and see those guys actually show their strength and really like get in and like really try to overpower. I missed that beginning of matches where you had guys lock in on one hand, lock in on the other hand, and then try to force the other guy down to his knees or back and forth. I know we haven't seen that in a long, long time. I miss that.
If there was ever a time that we needed a sponsor to help us get video on this podcast, it was that take, because Chris's actions there were fantastic. I did not see that coming. I will admit, your collar and elbow tie up are still pretty common, but they don't go right into the feats of strength. If you said, Rod, are you a big Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior? Let's get those hands there. Who's the stronger guy?
No, but what I do think might be kind of cool is if when Roman Reigns ultimately breaks Bruno Sammartino's record for days holding the championship, which clearly it seems that the WWE is going for, he should just win it on like a feats of strength type move like that, because we all know that was basically all Bruno was doing back in the day when he was wrestling matches. So
precisely. Hey, and let's just go right into Roman now. We have another belt for Roman Reigns. I'm not going to lie. I really hope Heyman still carries the other two belts around and we just have 3 belts for Roman. Why not? Let's just have 4 world championships. They did what we kind of thought they needed to do. They needed to merge that belt into one. They should have done that a while ago, but for whatever reason they didn't, mostly because they didn't know where they were going, probably. But it's basically what the old belt was, just a little goldier. Any comments on that for me, Chris King?
I like the belt better than the other two. I think it's a better looking belt. I didn't like the blue and red necessarily all that much. It makes a whole lot more sense for him just to have that universal title.
It's the WWE Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship. Thank you. And that will be referred to as such moving forward. Go ahead.
I do. I enjoy it. I think it's much better for him to just have one. If they do keep Paul lugging around those other two belts, I'm afraid he's going to trip and fall and like injure himself because you see him struggling with those belts all the time.
Rod, don't you think that Paul, he should take those belts off and maybe he's got a little quicker mile pace now because those belts are so heavy?
I just want to see him continue to carry those belts. And I still advocate for a time for Roman to become tag champion. So then he has to carry 2 more belts. So then Heyman and Solo and Roman come down to the ring, which is like 7 belts. Like I just want to see that once before we ultimately merge all the belts. Cause you're right. That's what we're going to do. We got 1 belt for Roman. The tag belts are going to get merged at 1.2. And then we'll create a second tag team belt, either from the NXT or something weird will happen. And so, yeah, but I liked it. It was fine. It's about time. But I, like you, think that Roman should wear the 1 belt and make Paul wear the other 2 just to remind people of how long he's had the belts in his possession.
So the bloodline is broken up, destroyed. Jey Uso has a big decision to make. Paul Heyman cuts an unbelievable promo talking about Jey and Jimmy in the womb, but they'll never be as close as they are to the tribal chief. People really want to watch SmackDown. SmackDown got a huge rating. That segment got a huge rating, and I believe 40 million views on social media, which I don't know what that really means in the grand scheme of things. What are we going to see on Friday, guys? Let's go to Rod first. What are we going to see on Friday? What's going to happen?
Well, first off, I want to say, Jimmy, how should we think about this, right? Should we think about this as something that could have been possible with the belt on Cody Rhodes, or are we only here because Roman continues to be the champion? I wanted to ask you this question before we got any further on this discussion.
It makes more sense to me to not have the belt on Roman because then Roman can lose. Roman can get pinned by Jey Uso, by Jimmy Uso, by whomever. He can get pinned. This way he can't get pinned. And Cody Rhodes, they've done a really good job, honestly, with this feud with Brock, and it could have been very similar with him having the belt. It probably would have been even more at larger scale, I think, with that. Chris King, what do you think? Should Roman still be the champ?
No. To be upfront, I don't think he should be. But I will say that it was such a slow build up to this that we all kind of knew it was going to happen in some way, shape, or form. It surprised me when they did it. I'm surprised it happened, during that tag team bout. I mean, none of us thought that the Usos were going to show up in Saudi Arabia in the first place. So I did enjoy that. That did come out of left field how they did it. I still think that it's going to come down to Solo and Paul turning on Roman at some point, and that's where he's going to lose the belt.
Rod Solo gave that side eye to that new championship belt, didn't he?
He certainly did, and it was another one of those segments, Jimmy, where like as much as I have been on my high horse complaining about decisions that have been made creatively, as much as I started this podcast on a sour note by saying that the old man's pissing all over our fun, it still has given me a few moments recently where I've been like, oh man, I did not see that coming. And when Solo crossed the imaginary line, so to speak, and went over on the side of his brothers, right? And Roman had that look in his eyes like, oh no, what are we going to do? And then a couple minutes later, the spike happened. I mean, he's like, oh, they got me again. You know what I mean? So it's just, it was a segment that had me on the edge of my seat. And it was just, again, I hate being this guy, but I often beat this drum on this podcast. Those are the reasons we watch wrestling. It's all trumped up and fake anyway. So if they can't give me moments where I feel that way, what am I doing it for?
We have a lot going on in the world of professional wrestling, including the Money in the Bank qualifying matches. Money in the Bank is one of my favorite shows of the year. And so far on the men's side, we have Ricochet, Nakamura, and L.A. Knight. Yeah! L.A. Knight beat Montez Ford, Chris. That says a lot about both of them, don't you think?
Yeah, it tells me that they're not ready to move away from Montez being part of the tag team duo.
And their name is what, Chris? What's their name?
The Street Profits.
Hey, his Google machine works. Good job, Chris. No, good job. He got that.
But I was, of course, disappointed. You guys know how big of a Montez Ford fan I am, but LA Knight is growing on me. He cuts a good promo. He's good on the mic, and he's impressive in the ring. You can't deny that. It is nice to see him getting a little bit of a push now since he wasn't in the last couple of Premium Live events. So we know we're going to see him at Money in the Bank, and hopefully he puts on a show.
Hey, Rod. Why is the WWE so hesitant on Montez Ford?
I've asked myself that question a couple of times, believe it or not, in my head when I've been sitting down here in the Morganino studios watching a Raw on a Tuesday afternoon, right? And Montez comes out and nobody else is really watching it at the time as me. So I have to just ask myself these questions and try to answer them. And my only hypothesis I can come to is they're worried about what to do with Angelo Dawkins. I don't think they want to lose Angelo Dawkins. I think they want to maybe have a bit of an idea of what they might be able to do with him to break off Montez, because I think it's clear Montez can handle himself in the ring as a solo act. He's got the body. He's got the charisma. He's got a storyline they could even tell if they wanted to, where they can bring him and Bianca a little bit together and maybe turn Bianca heel with him. But I just don't think they think Angelo, with only the sheer force of Montez turning heel against him, is enough to get him over. That's my guess, Jimmy.
I don't know if they put that much thought into him, though. That's the thing. They usually don't. Look at Tucker Knight. Where's he at? Gone. As soon as Otis went by himself, Tucker was out of there. They really don't care too much. Now, Angelo Dawkins has done very, very well this past 6 months to a year. I think they're afraid of new things. And it's weird because they've got a lot of new things going now that have helped a lot. And we're going to go back and forth here on some things, but that's what we do here on the Yeah We Know podcast. Think about what Dominic Mysterio has done over the past year. He and Cody Rhodes were face to face, back and forth in a promo, and there was major heat, especially, Chris, when Cody Rhodes said, "You're the mistake your dad and mom made." I mean, come on.
Wow. I couldn't believe Cody said that. Our baby face went there.
Yeah.
It was a great, great promo. I mean, listen, the fact that the crowd was so full of hate essentially towards Dominique that they wouldn't even let him talk. Like, you could barely hear him with a microphone in his hand because the crowd was so raucous.
I just think that they've done such a good job with having a younger talent and pushing him the way they have, that a Cody Rhodes, Dominic Mysterio one-on-one match seems like a big deal, Rod.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just like if you would have told me Dominic Mysterio, like, excuse me there. If you'd have told me when Dominic first hit the scene, tagging up with his old man, that if you'd have told me a year later, he's going to be able to have fans in the arena up with anticipation and screaming and cheering about him being in the ring with Cody Rhodes and not just booing and saying, what's the thing that they say when they're mad? Or when they don't like the thing that Steve Austin started, Jimmy, I just lost it. There you go. Yeah. If they're not just doing that when Dominic Rhodes gets in the ring with Cody, that's a huge, huge thing for the WWE. So as you talk about all the time, all of these guys have charisma and talent. It's just all in how they get pushed. And clearly the right buttons were pushed with Dominic Mysterio, and those buttons aren't pushed with other people.
Exactly. Another thing that we can tell right now, Rod, I know you're very heartbroken on this. We're just going to go all over the place today. Hit Row's done. Hit Row's done, Rod. They got destroyed by the Good Brothers, who haven't been on TV in quite some time.
Yeah, that's true. They did get destroyed by the Good Brothers, who haven't been on TV in some time, but they were making it a big point of acknowledging the diss track that was dropped online by Hit Row. So, I mean, I don't know. If you're going to have those guys go even more heel, fine, have another tag team that can come out and lose every once in a while, so it doesn't always have to be my guy Chad Gable. I mean, my guy Chad Gable has taken so many pins. I mean, honestly, you think he was a pin cushion at this point. He's taken so many pins on Raw over the past couple of months.
I think that's an old man. I think that's an old man joke, Rod. I don't know. I don't know if that's gimmick infringement.
Listen, when you get rolling sometimes and you know you got a spot for a punchline and you search that recesses, that was the quickest thing I could pull right there, Jim. And that's why I'm only a semi-professional podcast host and not necessarily a true professional.
All right, Chris King. So we have the men's Money in the Bank. We have Ricochet, Nakamura, and LA Knight that are definitely in. We probably are going to have like a Santos Escobar and maybe even like a Butch or somebody like that from the Brawling Brutes.
Look at you just casually throwing Butch in as if he has any kind of a profile recently to be able to be in that match.
It's weird, but I mean, it's one of the matches that it may happen. So who do you think is going to win that, and why isn't it Cody Rhodes? Chris?
Ooh,
well, they're not going to put Cody Rhodes in that match because he has the Brock Lesnar thing going on.
Not at Money in the Bank, SummerSlam.
Not at Money in the Bank, though. Yeah, but Lesnar's on his hiatus. He's on vacation.
I really am more interested in Bronson Reed and what he's going to do to almost dictate what happens in that match. We saw him come in and take revenge on Raw the other night when we saw Shinsuke versus Ricochet. I really think that he is going to interfere in some way during Money in the Bank and kind of dictate who does win it, since he's not going to be able to partake in that match.
Man, Rod, that's a good call, but I really hate when they do that in Money in the Bank. You got enough people in there already, right?
Yeah, I mean, why don't we just pull the Austin Theory with Bronson Reed and just right at the last second have Adam Pearce come out and say it is official that we have another entrant and just give it to him a second year in a row? Why not do that? I'm with Chris, though. Bronson Reed seems to have a little bit of heat right now, certainly more than some of the guys that are in that match. You got Shin, who's basically existing on past glory, not trying to down talk the guy, but he hasn't been much recently. Right? LA Knight, we love, but he doesn't have a huge resume either. You know what I mean? So I'm really
pretty good matches, though. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, all right. I like
He's got
that.
a history. He's got a history in ladder matches, winning belts, especially $1 million ones.
Oh, listen, everybody, drink out there. Rod is going to admit that he doesn't know much about NXT. That never happens on this podcast.
But
could we see Damian Priest or Finn Balor get into the Money in the Bank?
Well, they definitely gave us Finn Balor staring down my guy, so they have something in line for him.
I think Finn Balor and Damian Priest might be wrestling each other from what we saw, and that's a good transition, Chris. That is why you are one of the best in the business. Let's talk about that really solid 20-minute world. Yes, it's the World Championship match between Seth Rollins and Damian Priest.
Heavyweight. How dare you slight my guy as heavyweight moniker, Jim?
World Heavyweight Champion. Whatever the hell. The Raw Championship.
Hey, no. This is Seth Rollins we're talking about. You have some respect in your mouth when we're talking about Seth.
He is the working man's champion, and this is the first time in a few years that it has been defended on Raw, and it was for a match that you knew Seth Rollins was going to win. There's no way he was losing this match. It was pretty exciting, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it was a really, really good match. I mean, Damian Priest is no slouch in the ring, and we all know how good Seth is. Like, that was a very good, almost a premium live event level match on a Monday Night Raw, and we really want more of that moving forward. I love Seth being out there every Monday defending his belt.
Rod, bask in his glory. Go right ahead.
I'd love to. Your boy was white knuckling it over here for a minute, right? Because I was like, oh my God. I was like, they're not going to do this, right? I mean, because the last time Seth got a hold of the U.S. Championship, he certainly didn't hold on to it long, right? So I was like, okay, Are we trying to have Seth win it first so it seems cool, and then we're just going to move it to somebody else, and then he's going to get involved in it? So for a second, your boy was freaking out over here watching the end of that match, but then Seth walked away with the glory, and the Cloud got to sing his song, and everything was good. But I continue to be like you, Jimmy. We have Damian Priest right now at the best position he's been in a while. I hope we make some good decisions with him because he's got serious heat off the Bad Bunny match. This was a good match. You can easily see him and Finn fighting for control of the Judgment Day, even though the Judgment Day will swear up and down to us that there is no leader. So there's definitely some things we could do with Damian. The Archer of Infamy, am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think their leader, her name is Rhea. They just don't know it yet. But it's tough because you need to have Priest beat Balor. You need to have that happen. But Balor is just on a streak of not figuring anything out. Maybe he goes babyface. Maybe he tries to, get a little bit of heat back that way, in the positive aspect. But I think that this just shows how good of a wrestler Damian Priest is with Seth Rollins. Don't get me wrong, because Seth Rollins is amazing and he had a good match with Omos. Remember that. So I think that your World Championship contenders, these are the matches we're going to see, and that is a good thing, even though I hate the fact that there are two world champions again.
Yeah, you've gotta give us a little bit out of these folks that you intend to be major draws at premium live events, right? Like that started to be the problem for Roman Reigns a little bit. He wouldn't fight very often, and then every time he'd be up against some guy at a premium live event, you were like, well, this dude's not beating him. And so if you got Seth going back and forth with these guys a couple of times, we see some good matches happening, builds up the guys, makes you think maybe he can lose. I think that's ultimately good for the product. I love your call there, Jim.
Okay, let's talk about women's Money in the Bank. First of all, for all you listeners out there, and maybe for you too as well, if you have not seen Zoe Stark's finisher taken correctly by a NXT super or a WWE superstar, Google Zoe Stark NXT finishers. You will see how to actually take that, and it looks terrific. Natalya did not do a good job with that, unfortunately. Zoe Stark in Money in the Bank, Zelina Vega in Money in the Bank, getting a little push not too bad. They're getting a little push.
I think that's your winner, Jim. I think Zelina Vega's your winner of Money in the Bank. I'm calling it right now, even with everybody else not in.
Wow, with Becky Lynch and then probably Bayley and Io Sky, because I think Bayley and Io Sky are going to win their qualifying matches, and then something's going to happen where they kill each
That's why
other.
neither of them will win.
They're not going to win it. Becky, though, Chris, Becky needs something big. I think this is a pretty cool opportunity for her, especially since now Rhea's on Raw right now, right?
Yeah,
so
see,
but if it's Money in the Bank, I bet you she could go for either. What if she tries to go for Asuka? Because Asuka, if you remember, won Money in the Bank, came down to the ring, and Becky's like, "Yeah, I'm having a kid. Here's the belt." So that could be kind of a little going back in history to figure that out. Chris, what are your thoughts on that? Or do you think and agree with Rod that Zelina Vega might get the win here?
I like Becky Lynch a lot. I think she is one of the better in the women's division in the ring by far. She's also good with the mic. However, we haven't seen them do anything well with her since she's came back from maternity leave. And so I don't have that much faith that they're going to give her something big to do. I almost see them pushing Io Sky over her.
Ooh.
Or I mean, listen, I think Io Sky versus Bayley is great. That'll break up the party crashers, which we need. And I think Io Sky ends up winning and then going after the belt for Asuka. We saw that great promo in all Japanese, and I was still hooked, you know?
Yeah, that's only because you spent time as a trader over in Singapore back in 72. That's the only reason you had any idea what they were talking about.
And with that, you've been listening to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Knows podcasting network. You're in the ring with Jimmy, Chris, and Rod.
Listen, I think we might have finally figured out a way to make Lacey Evans happen. And it's certainly not just the Sergeant Slaughter hat and the stupid outfit they trucked around in to fight on TV for the first time since last year's Money in the Bank qualifying matches, but it's the heat that was generated on Twitter between her and Sergeant Slaughter's daughter. Let's go. Let's bring Sergeant Slaughter back. Let's put him at ringside. Let's have Lacey Evans fight Sergeant Slaughter's daughter, and the winner gets the hat gimmick. Book it.
Goodbye, Internet.